In spite of the minimal cost of operations, inland waterways remains one of the underutilized means of transportation in Nigeria. While many people attribute the low patronage to lack of political will to nurture the system, others identified inadequate infrastructural facilities, lack of dredging of needed rivers, poor maintenance of available facilities, insufficient and congestion of jetties as part of factors militating against the low patronage. The recent boat mishap in Mokwa local government area of Niger State, where about 30 people lost their lives and many still missing, and that of Adamawa, of course, that of Kwara State, that have witnessed frequent boat mishaps where occurrences are one too many. What are we doing wrongly, and what is yet to be done to boost water transportation in Nigeria? What is the status of things on the recent boat mishaps, and how can such unpleasant incidents be prevented in Nigeria? These are issues that we will be discussing on Nigeria Today as we discuss safety in inland waterways in Nigeria. I am Ikaria Clinton. Welcome to Nigeria Today. Now, joining us via Zoom to discuss the safety of the inland waterways is Abubakar Sadiq Yelwa, who's the Managing Director and CEO of National Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, NHYPADEC. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Abubakar, I kind of mentioned in my introduction, the many boat mishaps we've been having. That of Niger, of course, that just happened recently. We had that of Adamawa State that happened Friday. We also had the one that happened in Kwara State. Why do we keep having these boat mishaps?
I think it's an attitudinal problem. The communities don't seem to respect the guidelines given to them by the Nigerian inland waterways, and they don't seem to listen to the various advocacy from HYPADEC and other related agencies on the use of inland waterways. In the recent case that happened yesterday, this was a boat that was meant to take only 40 passengers, and over 100 passengers was filled with over 100 passengers. The second problem was the driver of the canoe doesn't know the safety direction of the river, because HYPADEC has done clearance, 3 logs clearance on the river, and those that are familiar with the system know where to follow. And in his case, he didn't follow the route that was meant for such canoes. And thirdly, of course, HYPADEC gave life jackets, NIWA gave life jackets, and the Niger State government also gave life jackets, but the people are not using them. So you can see that this life jacket has the capacity to save a passenger for about 5 to 6 hours. It will keep them floating for about 5 to 6 hours before rescue operations meet them. So if they had used the life jacket, what we saw yesterday couldn't have happened at all. It may surprise you to know that all the 100 passengers that were on that vessel, none of them was wearing a life jacket. So that's the major problem. The authorities are doing their best, but the people seems to favor their traditional ways of doing things, and that has been our major challenge.
Okay, Mr. Abubakar, you just mentioned the recent incident of yesterday. So, can you tell us the status of things in that mishap? how things have they rescued everyone, or is it still ongoing?
I don't get you very well, please. Sorry.
Okay, I said, can you please tell us, give us an update of that mishap that happened in Niger State, if you have the information?
Yes, our staffs and the staffs of Niger State Emergency Agency and the staff of Mokwa local government were led by the chairman of Mokwa local government, and they visited the location. And just like what I told you was what happened. Up to now, only about 30 bodies were recovered, dead bodies, and they are still searching for other bodies. It's a very appealing situation, and that we are now going to provide more life jackets, and we are going to increase on the size of our water log clearance so that the Holy River can be cleared of such logs. Unfortunately, we cannot do this exercise when the river is full. It is only when it starts going down that we can do that. We will improve on our advocacy. We will improve in discussing with the local traditional institutions, and we shall see what we can do with the local government to ensure that every village area that frequent use of such vessels have inspectors on the riverside to make sure that canoes, the ferries don't take more than they are entitled to take. And in the near future, I'm sure in the next 2-3 months, we are going to provide them with larger vessels too that can take up to more than 50, 60, 100. But that is not the issue. The issue is compliance. That is the major, and that we have spoken to the emir, and he has committed that he's going to improve more on the advocacy. And as soon as that is done, we are sure the level of accidents will be reduced. You can see the other part of River Niger, from Kanji to Yauri to Ilo. It used to be a daily occurrence where such kind of accidents happen almost on a daily basis. But you can see for the past 7-8 months, we have not witnessed any of such accidents just because of the water clearance logs we were able to do. And secondly, there is the need to train the drivers. Most of them don't know the route, so they need to be guided. And of course, fourthly, we are going to facilitate procurement of buoys. These buoys will guide the drivers to make sure that this is the way to follow and this is not the way to follow, so that they will try to avoid rocks and such trees in the river.
Okay, rightly, in your opening remark, you mentioned that the people, both the community people, don't keep to guidelines, and of course they don't keep to, they're not following the rules. But are there, do you have men on ground to monitor the activities of these boat operators, because they seem to be operating at liberty? You know, you just mentioned that a boat that was supposed to, accommodate 40 passengers had over 100. So are there men on ground to monitor the activities of these operators?
That is where we said we are now collaborating with the local governments to make sure that the excess staff the local governments have can be used to be appointed as safety inspectors, will be trained, and the Hyperdeck will also do its best to ensure that they add up to the manpower required. We know NIWA is doing its best, but there is the need to have increased manpower from NIWA too. Because most of the locations we have NIWA people, the level of accidents has drastically reduced. That shows people will be willing to obey the inspectors that are by the riverside. But where we don't have them, the challenge we have is most of these communities are not coordinated. Some of them will just wake up very late in the night and decide to say they are crossing the river without. So these are some of the kind of challenge we have. But we are sure the way the Niger State governor has looked at the issue and spoke to the communities, I think something positive is going to come out of it. And some of the jetties are very old, are not only old but archaic, and therefore we need to ensure that maintenance culture is imbibed, and those that are very, even if Hyperdeck needs to perhaps buy these jetties and give them on the lease to the operators, we will do that. But what is most important is the mindset, is the attitude of the people. They have to change. They have to make sure that most of these regulations are meant to save their lives. They have to use the life jackets we give them. And there is no need buying life jackets given to them, and some of them go and keep them in their houses. They don't use them. So these are the kind of problem we have. And like you said, on the part of Hyperdeck, we will increase on the regulatory aspect. We will urge on NIWA to do more. We will urge on the Marine Transport Division of the Niger State Ministry of Transport. And of course, all the marine divisions of the Hyperdeck states will be required to do more to ensure that they improve on the inspection, they improve on the regulation and coordination, so that we will have less of these accidents occurring.
Okay, we of course we do hope that things will improve. But again, for these operators that are not keeping to the rule, are flouting the guidelines, are there punitive measures to ensure that they stop flouting the rules? Because they keep doing this and they keep putting people's life at risk. And of course, we've lost quite a lot of people while they are doing why they are flouting the rules. Are there punitive measures to curb these their disobedience?
Rules by the various states, but what we have said is, perhaps since most of the people are not respecting these rules, we will insist on making the rules more stricter so that people can obey them. And we will also use more of the local government, because it looks like the local government have greater role to play, because the communities are from them, and they have people that are closer to members of the community. I'm sure with that, we will be able to control the situation.
Okay, we will take a break now. The conversation will continue after the break. This is still Nigeria Today. Do stay with us.
People, before they bought a canoe, it should be mandatory that they must wear a safety vest. Why will people want to? A vessel that is carrying about 100 people, and you now see that in that community, none of those people will wear a safety vest. So there should be a kind of law in the riverine areas where they are using this canoe, boats, and the light vessels for transportation, that it should be mandatory that everybody that want to board should wear safety vest. And it should even be mandatory for those people operating those light vessels, that for them to be in that business, safety vest should be among the requirement for them to be operating. If they don't, have those safety vests, they should not allow them to ply the road, the water, because most of recently, last week, there was an accident that happened. A lot of life was lost. But if they are allowed to use that safety vest, at least it will contain the high rate of death when something like that happens.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and we are discussing safety in inland waterways. My guest is still with me via Zoom. Now, Mr. Abubakar, you heard the respondent there, and I wonder if you have any other thing to say, any reaction to that.
Yeah, he was right, quite. You can see he was more emphasizing on the life jackets, life vest. It's quite necessary. I agree with him. And I have mentioned that earlier. And like I said, Hyperdeck bought over 10,000 in the last few months. And we are going to buy about 20,000 in the next few days to ensure that we inculcate the habit of using the life jackets. And when we bought them, we distributed them free of charge. So you can see that there is no reason whatsoever for the operators to refuse to use them. And we will also conduct training and orientation for the operators in order to guide them and so that we can minimize this menace. In addition to that, in the last few years, about 10, 20 years back, the Marine Police was very effective. And most of us that grew up from riverine communities, we have them and they do a lot of work to ensure that safety on the waterways is enhanced. But nowadays, you hardly see them. So I think there is the need for the Nigerian police force also to revive its marine division corps so that they can also add value to our expectation in safety waterways. I think these are my...
Mr. Abubakar, I was about asking if there's been any form of arrest. Because if you keep allowing them get away with this, they'll keep, flouting the rules.
Yes, like I said, there have been arrests in the previous situations, but the issue, the penalty there, like I said, is so negligible that they can pay the penalty and still go back to their job. But that's why we are saying we are now working with local government areas, the state's House of Assemblies, and of course the marine divisions of the ministry to ensure that punitive measures can be introduced so that the penalties can be so painful that somebody will not feel happy to want to repeat it again. Maybe we can introduce impoundment and other things. What the life of the individuals is more important than the business itself. So if there are no individuals, there will not have been the waterways transport. So we have to make sure that we find a way of making the transportation on our waterways safe. And that's the only way we can have to ensure that the operators obey the rules, to ensure that the operators respect the community leaders, to ensure that the operators respect the Mekwatas, because the Mekwatas are the traditional inspectors that are responsible for ensuring that there is compliance by the boat operators. I assure you, from the way things are coming up now, there will be a drastic change by the grace of God.
Okay, what about the overloading, like that of Kwara? We understand that over 270 persons were on board, and they even had bags of cement, bags of rice, and of course they had even their motorbikes in the boat with it. So what are you also, what are you doing to check this overloading and of course turning the passenger ship to, cargo ship?
Yes, it's about the regulation. Usually we have our inspectors on the market, on the market days, because that's where we have inflow, regular flow of the system. But in this case, they were going to the farm. And when they were going to the farms, they took even children and young boys and young girls that could not even be able to swim on their own. So these are some of the challenges we will make sure we address. I am happy with the response of the communities when we visited them today, and that their commitment to now cooperate with authorities to ensure that future recurrence does not come, and that they are also ready to ensure they support the authority in whatever punitive measures it intends to come up with. But we are not even after the punitive measures more. We are more interested in advocacy, in trying to enlighten them, in trying to make them understand that it is their lives. Definitely, you will be very surprised when you go to some of these markets or market days. You will see a cargo, a jetty that is capable of taking only 50 passengers, is taking over 100 passengers, and with lots of bags of foodstuff in them, with sometimes with even animals all joined together in one. So you can see that whenever there is any mishap, the goods will turn over on individuals, and even those that are able to swim will not be able to swim because they will be struggling between the loads that are in the ferry. What we are trying to introduce is that we should introduce jetties for passengers, human passengers, and we should introduce jetties for taking goods only, just like we used to have in the olden days, where you have lorries and they ride goods only, and then they have buses for people. So in this case, we are also trying to see if that is possible, and we definitely believe it is possible. It is just the mindset, like we said. We will try to address the individual's mindset to respect whatever introduction we may bring to save their lives.
Okay, just before we go, is there any form of compensation for those that lost their lives, for family, or of those that lost their lives in the Niger boat mishap?
Yeah, I think what we intend to do on our side is we are trying to take the statistics of those that have lost their lives. Then we are trying to support the families. There is no compensation because the jetties are not even insured. So when perhaps you have such kind of introduction where if you introduce insurance facility where the jetty operator knows that if somebody die in his jetty, he will be responsible for the life of that person, perhaps they will become more sensible and try to ensure that they drive safely, and they control the number of people in the jetties and the number of goods in the jetty, and they try to avoid mixing people and goods in one jetty.
That's it. Thank you very much. That's it on Nigeria Today. But before we go, we'd like to appreciate Abubakar Sadiq Yelwa. He's the Managing Director, CEO of National Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission and Hyperdeck. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution.
Very much, NTA, for this initiative. It will really help us in the what we are doing as part of the advocacy. Thank you. You are playing your role very well.
Thank you for being part of this. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs every weekday by 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch these and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24. Once again, thank you for watching. I am your carrier, Clinton. Goodbye.